Yeah. Bing, 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 bing. Here we go. Oh, nearly done. Yes. As you see, all the work surfaces have scrubbed up really good from there. Welcome back. How are you all doing? Probably say that you do better. You've done better. Everything that's going on so far. If it's not Ukraine, it's Russia. If it's not Russia, it's Europe. If it's not Europe, it's what's going on here. And if it's not what's going on here, it's going across in America. Whew. And if it's not any of those, it's China, Japan, Taiwan, the rest of that goes with it. So quite the activity going on, eh? Yeah. Well, as you noticed, as we've passed around the room, it's all nearly done. It is just tidying up now, doing loose bits. Doors particularly, looks a bit of a mess at the moment, but it's getting there. Usually how it starts out, isn't it? It starts out a bit of a mess. Start tweaking, playing around with them, and then all of a sudden it comes out good. Do this bit up here, but I'm gonna do that last, just to make sure that I've got all the wiring in and everything. All good. Get rid of all the loose bits, get rid of all the rubbish, all that type of stuff. Windows done, secondary glazing, probably needs a bit more work done to it, but it's done. In the outside redoing, counters all cleaned up, sorted, ready, all sorted out, all these drawers. I'm just working on under counter stuff now. Floor's painted. Might need another coat because the floor's not easy. It was never been painted before, so it won't stick in. Walls are done. They've pretty much dried out now. They're all doing quite well. Sockets are all in, working. I've had power tools running here, and it's not pop. It's not popped a fuse. It's good. I might put some blinds over those though. I might. For events like this, so keeps noses out from there. You know what people are. Don't go telling them that way. I'm joking. It just tidies things up a little bit. Yeah, it does. As you can see, I can control the lighting. Like I said before, split it to two halves. Instead of having the lighting right over the top of my head, putting a bit of a glare on the screen. We're doing good. So far, so good. Next project will be... I haven't quite decided what the next one will be. I might go back, take a step back and do what I started on originally. That was working, but I let people have a look and they broke it. So I have to do it again. Don't tell them. The long and short of it, it's getting ready now. I'm just planning out the space now so I can determine where I'm going to put the IT system and everything. Networks in, it's Cat 6 high speed boosted, so basically I can run hardwire rather than Wi-Fi, and you lot hacking into my Wi-Fi. But no, seriously, it makes it a lot more stable. Not only that, I've got plans for IT systems and working and effectively sorting out all the internet side of stuff. So, as you saw me when I was spinning around the laptop there, it effectively means that I can carry on doing research, all that type of stuff, and building up the knowledge base side of it all. It appears, it's a slow burner. It's taken us a good few years to get to this point. It might be another shift to a more of a permanent residence. It depends on how this goes at the end of it all. So the upshot of it all is that we're here now. This is better part sorted, and the model is very much in place, and it's working. I repeat it every time. It's just getting bigger. It's getting more refined. So I can just pick it up and move it anywhere now. Yeah, with very little in the way of entropy or resistance or whatever. The idea is there. Right, so on to the main things. 5 minutes about what's going on around here, what we've been up to now. About you now. There's been a lot going on, hasn't there? Yeah. I'm not going to take too much time on this, but when I was looking through the collective understanding of what's going on in the world, the two main features three I suppose you could say at the moment, is Ukraine, America, and British politics in terms of budget. There is buzzing around in the background in terms of import level of importance and the limelight he gets, that there are other parties talking about it, but there again they're responding to the budget side of things more than anything else. And that's kind of where we'll narrow it to now, other than the fact that when looking at the Ukraine side of things, it appears that the last conversation between Russia and America, Russia managed to be able to get America to, should we say, stall. Yeah. It's better than presenting themselves as being siding with Russia, which is pretty much what it appears like for the most part. Yeah, it does. So ultimately speaking, a lot can be said, and it appears that things did ring true to its form last time. So it is what it is. Unfortunately, yes, Heaven's Gates are closed, and I suppose it's just more about how it's dealt with on the ground level now, such as when I start looking at the Guardian's news. Bondi assigns prosecutor to lead investigation into Trump's adversaries over Epstein ties. So we know that's going to be rigged. I do. Because you can see how the relationship has been developed even just by looking at the images. I mean, this is where, picture holds 1,000 words. Yeah. So by the time you've actually finished, it's not looking really too good across over the pond. And this is the thing about when people in positions such as legal infrastructure or judicial infrastructure, when they're appointed by political parties, regardless of whether it's American, British, whatever, it doesn't matter. As long as they're appointed, then there are always going to be, shall we say, political favours, political ties. It's going to be politicised, and there's always going to be a way of people saying, well, there's leverage there. This is why a lot of the time it's better if they were elected, and then you have your independent bodies which do not have MPs assigned to them. Yeah, they're independent. So effectively, it creates transparency, it creates balance across the board. Like you were saying before, when it comes down to tenancy. Yeah. The information on the design. We'll show you what's on there. Well, we start looking at the tenancy stuff. Transparency. This is why when a few years ago, Matt Wimmer was talking about the Independent Parliamentary Standards Authority, there's a bloody MP assigned to it. Scrutiny board, scrutinised by an MP. Why? Yeah, that's not independent then, is it? That creates bias, which, as we've been hearing a lot of through the media. Biases. Or just not biases, just bias. There's a great deal of bias going on. It's not good. Not good at all. So, when looking at that, there is a lot to be said. But not enough time in these to say it. It's one of the reasons why I'm eager to get these things fired up as well, because whilst I'm trying to avoid falling into the conspiracy side, the theory side of things, because I really don't enjoy doing that, having to tidy up mess all the time, it's just, it creates a sense of cognitive dissonance. It's like, why am I doing that? I know it needs to be done, but you've made the mess. But if I don't do it, they won't do it, and it's always going to be. And it's like, really. So, and I'd rather not go picking holes and things like that, and digging holes where the holes don't need to be dug, and to find out that I just wasted a whole host of time and so on and so forth. Yeah, hence the reason why we pick our subjects. On the subject of housing, and there's one lady, Kirsty, familiar face, yes, it's the one. Just click on that one moment. Bankrupting us, yeah, we was talking about it a few times, and it appears to be emerging again, and it's a common theme. It's a thread that runs throughout. People claiming stuff that they don't need, claiming for stuff that they don't need. Free this, free that, free the other, and it's like, you have enough money to support yourself. So why are you claiming for free? Yeah. So you are the creators of your own ruin. Hence the reason why we keep saying means tested. A lot of us saying means tested. If you have enough money, you don't need the freebie. Pay for a bloody bus fare. It's not that expensive. This article I was looking at was slams free bus pass users. I'm not going to mention names, but point is that, again, a typical example, it's not required. Yeah, cold weather benefits or discounts or whatever it is. Again, there are people out there who desperately need it, and there are people out there that are on thousands, and it's like, well, why are you claiming it? You don't need it. And we go back to the beginning, don't we? Let somebody else benefit from it. No, yeah. Swings and roundabouts. It's people say, well, my hands are tied, this, that, and the other. And it's like, no, they're not. You just don't want to, because you just don't want to get into the argument. And then you end up getting into an argument with people like me. So it's kind of like, why get into an argument with people like me when you can get into an argument with other people where it's actually needed? You see the thing we was talking about, the lens beforehand, looking through the same lens, and you're always going to keep getting the same answers. The upshot of it all is that making the hard choices, that doesn't actually make it right, does it? Making hard choices means you could be, attempting to kill somebody. It's a hard choice. But is it necessary? Is it the right thing to do? No. So when people, not you particularly, or any specific person, but as a broad kind of like sweep, making hard choices doesn't always mean that it's right. Yeah, well, it's the right one. Right? It's even harder to actually be able to sit down and discern the difference between what is right and what is wrong. There's the whole ethical argument. I know the academics, scholars and whatnot, they've tried to create the conundrum, so they spend time trying to solve it and come to some form of quantitative or qualitative kind of end result where they say, look, we solved the problem. When the answer's always there anyway. A lot of the time it's for satisfying the majority, not the minority. So, yeah, and that doesn't. And then no, I'm just not going into it. I'll do that on the online stuff where I start putting stuff to the knowledge-based side of things. We'll go into it that way, and then people can then call me all the names under the sun that they want. Then can't they? On there. on those articles. So the budgeting side of things, right? The long and short of it all is, as I've been listening, as I've been watching and been listening, many different avenues, right? It appears that there are things that are emerging. Even emotional, even suggestions within the suggestions of change, there is even actually emotional blackmail being used, which I certainly do not appreciate in the slightest. I don't. Right? When it comes down to money, you should never really actually let your heart lead. It should be your head. It should. Your heart, yes, it plays a part in it to make sure that it's right and that it's wrong, and so on and so forth, as a form of proofread, so to speak. Yeah? But to let it lead the way will create a whole host of issues, new sets of issues. Right? Like, for instance, when you allow your emotions to get the better of you, I find it quite interesting when I look at the whole system over the years, the financial system over the years, where when a system becomes inflated, costs go up, VAT and all the rest that goes with it. So system costs increase, then over a particular period of time, the assumption is that you've managed to be able to recover your losses. The problem is that the cost increase is left alone. There's no kind of retraction. Yeah. Then another issue emerges. Then the system has to reinflate itself again. The system cost increases, and effectively it adds on top of what was increased beforehand, which then slows the recovery down further. Like now, for instance, this shouldn't be what I'm talking about now. Shouldn't be anything new, because you're having troubles with the economy at the moment, plateauing or flatlining around the 0 to 0.1. What was it? 0 to 0.04. Yeah. So it's struggling, because at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is add more costs to try and claim money back to repair a problem that you repaired beforehand but never restored the system beforehand. Yeah. So there's no sense of liquidity within the system, and it's getting strained. And each time we do this cycle, the more strained the system gets, to a point where it will flatline. It's where you are now. You're bottlenecking. Same with other countries and whatnot. They're attempting to do the same thing, bottlenecking, and eventually it will stall and collapse. And Trump already gave a good start with that. Yeah. So there's a problem. You need to start thinking about doing indirect investments rather than spending and trying to say that, well, by making cuts, that is spending. In a manner of speaking, yes, it might be, but it's more about a reduction of what comes in. So it's not actually spending, is it? Only spending is when you start throwing money after road road. Like, for instance, the service sector. There's public servants. And when I was talking about before, the IPSA and all the rest that goes with it, you start keep throwing money at them to keep people happy or to try and up wages in the civil service sector and whatnot. I'm talking about the administrative side of things. You've already started when it comes down to the police side of things. And then it's all about reinvesting the cycle. Trim off the crap that you don't need, right? And then reinvest that back in as you were doing there. It's like I was saying before, right? You try the waffle or the scaremongering and whatnot within all of this is that pensions are at risk and all that type of stuff, raiding pension pots. You don't need to do anything like that. Readjust the interest rates and whatnot. Yeah, of course. All you're doing is adjusting it, so basically it increases the income from that. You don't have to raid anything. And then that will then fund something else. As I was saying before, when it comes down to the child benefits, as far as lifting a cap and making it an unlimited cap, that's where the emotional blackmail comes in. Right? I agree with you. It's not the kid's fault. The kids never chose to actually be born. That's an adult choice. But again, unless you can instill a sense of the sins of the father type thing, yeah? Whereas it's teaching discipline, either keep your pecker in your pants or your penny in your purse, one or the other, or both, right? Then don't have kids. If you can't afford them, then don't have them. For as much as you might want them, and this is why I said to you before, everybody has a human right or has the right to bear children, right? But nobody has the right to exceed their ability to maintain or support them kids, because then what you're actually doing is when don't make that choice, you're persecuting them for your own needs. Right? Maybe I'm talking about ethics. So we're now back here with an emotional blackmail and trying to talk about adults are not responsible, right? And then trying to take the limelight away from that. Get a job. Right? Means 10, go up to 3. Means testing. Right? If they're on part-time work because they're looking after youngsters, then obviously that works, doesn't it? Then they get the benefits for it. But if there's like 80, 90 odd grand coming into the house and they've only got 2 and 3 kids, if they're living beyond their means, that's their problem. There it is. Live reasonably. You might even find you've got more spare money to actually go on holidays and contribute in a cyclic sense towards the economy rather than creating debt. And then whimpering about that when things go belly up, because then it's the government's fault, isn't it? Always somebody has to be blamed rather than ourselves. Right? Taking accountability and being accountable for our own mistakes is what makes us human, or not so much as what makes us human, but what helps us grow as humans. Yeah, this is what I said to you before, right at the beginning, where it's the purpose of life. It's whatever you make it. Right? If you want to live your life living from paycheck to paycheck and always forever chasing debt, then that is the meaning of your life, isn't it? Really, you've created that. Yeah. If you wanted to swamp your household because you love the pitter-patter of feet and the laughter of children, which in turn grow up after about 16 years and 15, 16 years, and then everybody else in the rest of the world is at fault, why should everybody else need to take care of them? Well, they get stressful, it's expensive. Well, then don't have them. Again, we go back to the ethical dispute, don't we? The ethical, not dispute, but debate. Yeah. So no. Not unlimited cap. Be reasonable, right? Because again, it's a cost that the country in itself is trying to maintain. And part of this easing of actual jobs or push encouraging people to do a full-time job based on mental health, stress, being stressed out. Whoever said that life would never actually be stressful? I've heard a similar argument to this before, and my opinion back then is the same as it is now. When you try to shield somebody too much, when you start to mollycoddle them and then cotton wool them up, there, and all that, you try it'd be so easy, it'd be so nice, don't worry, it won't hurt, Then all of a sudden I go, now what are you going to do? I know it's not nice. I know, right? I don't like it as much as anybody else, but it is what it is, right? And if we want to grow, we need to learn. Okay? So that's the children's side of things, the pension side of things. I've been hearing things about VAT, VAT. Some suggest bring it down 15. It wouldn't even surprise me if the office is thinking of taking it beyond 20%. Remember, indirect investments. Right? Bring it back down to the 17.5 again, or where test the waters at 18 or something. Bring it down. Let the economy breathe a bit, right? And then it will basically invest it back into itself. See, the thing is, it's like a conversation. I'm pretty certain we've had this conversation before, but it's also the same as a conversation I've had within science or astrophysics. When talking about the expansion of the universe, black matter and dark matter and all that type of stuff, how far does it stretch? The universe is expanding and whatnot. Yeah, we can see it expanding, right? It's like with these inflation, debt and all the rest of it, the country's debt, national debt, it's expanding. But eventually it has to contract. Right, well, because when that, shall we say, dark matter, shall we say, thins out, naturally speaking, there's nothing to maintain the density and the integrity of it, so it will naturally retract. Now, understanding things like that, you have to think to yourself, the economy works in much the same way. It's a living, breathing being that doesn't actually have a conscience in itself, or is not really consciously aware of itself. It needs people to think for it. Yeah? This is where mutual agreement comes in. When one person starts to force the flow because it's for their own needs and somebody else forces flow, then you create that clash. Yeah? It needs to work properly. Let's breathe. So perhaps instead of keep inflating it, deflate a bit now. Start thinking about how to create a rhythm. A spend, cut, spend, cut, spend, cut, spend, cut, spend, cut. Yeah, there. I know it sounds a bit cheesy, but think about it. Property tax. I believe it was the same individual, Kirsty, that was talking about property tax. And in conjunction with that, there's also been talk about council tax. I suppose there's actually a point in both there. When it comes down to the sales of property, the purchase of property, when it comes down to the banding of properties and whatnot, perhaps making a blanket drop change. The lower ends, it's nominal. And when I say nominal, I don't mean it's voluntary. I mean it's nominal as in it's minor. It's not detrimental. It's more, when I say that, it's more important because it ties into the cash ISA side of things, or the ISA savings. I'll get to that in a moment. We've already done get control of the council, the control of the civil service spending, so we've done that bit. So yeah, so property tax in line with council taxes or whatnot. Create a form of margin, just a minor margin on the lower end to a reasonable margin at the top end, and then the council tax, again, if you're going to invest anything, directly invest in anything, yes, recalibrate the systems. Create some new system tools that are actually useful for measuring and identifying what's going on, and mechanisms for weighing up, quantitatively cost. Yeah? It's not going to be that hard, is it? And if you're going to start saying, well, it's going to cost us billions and billions and billions. No. You've got the ONS. The data's already there. All you need to do is have a department actually create a system that captures that data, and then all you need to do is place a formula in there across whatever bands there are, and then it'll work itself out. See, there's a false economy in that. And that's the problem when it comes down to working with civil servants. It's all about money. What can people get out of it themselves? How long can they string this out for? Yeah? To lay a stretch of road, In some countries, it can take them a week to start, or less than a week, to relay probably like a mile or two's worth of road. But across here, you know, in amongst the cup of teas and that, me lad, it could take up to about a month. Yeah. It didn't used to. Yeah. Money. I'm gonna have right. In and amongst that, so yeah, rebalancing the books, right? It's not going to cost that much, not as much as what you probably think, if it's done and done right. It's quoted and quoted right by the right people, and not the friend of the friend of the family who's, the son of the politician, who's just sitting across the way there. Yeah? Somebody who actually knows what they're doing. Internal, UK business, investing in, as I was saying before. Again, repeating myself, but I don't mind repeating myself as long as it's not falling on deaf ears. Right? So rebalancing council tax and the actual property taxes. Yeah, that will generate you a fair old amount. Yeah, it will. And as far as having new housing stock goes, for as long as the old housing stock that's been left to stand, like I was mentioning before and noticed it within Staffordshire and various other places around the UK, because I do a lot of mileage, do a lot of mileage, and I do get to see a lot of what goes on in places. So as long as all this old property stock is rid of, you got rid of it, you can put new there. Remember what we were saying before about recycling. Yeah, don't just leave it there and add on top of it. It's not an Acropolis or anything, Just flatten it and put something else in its place. Yeah, well, not unless it's obviously grade listing and all the rest that goes with it. I'm just talking about normal. You know what I mean. So, still building, but we're just building in the same spot. Just putting new stock down. Right. When it comes down to that side of things, right, when you start playing around, how can I best put this? You're inadvertently gambling with people's lives by playing around with the saving systems and encouraging people to gamble. And what's all the thing going on at the moment about encouraging people to have time out and all the rest that goes with it and not gamble too much? Because we all know that stock market, when you gamble on horses or something, I have no idea what the blue thing was. I remember asking somebody before and they was telling me about the 10 to 1 and all the rest that goes with it. And I got the general idea of it. And it's like, when talking about stock markets, you can actually lose what you don't have on the stock markets. Whereas gambling on horses and all the rest that goes with it, you can only lose what it is you've placed down. Yeah. So and whilst the prior is not 100% accurate, right? It's just a broad sweep. That is a far worse gamble for people. Especially because given the fact that a lot of the politicians, and I'm sorry, but you're going to have to take account for this. One of the reasons back in 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, I was banging my drum about most of you have no idea what you're doing. Right? You seem to be winging it. Get your head screwed on and start thinking about this. Right? Because when I start looking at cash ISAs and whatnot, and looking at what it takes to build a business, and what it takes to actually invest into property, what it takes to actually make large purchases in this day and age. Because all the initial costs, the economic cycle I've been talking about, keeps going up, shit keeps getting more expensive. So savings has to be more in order to purchase. Yeah? So when playing around with numbers, I would probably go as far as saying either trim some off a bit more off the top of the 20,000, or limit it to around about 15,000, with a view for it to go back up again. Because when I start looking at 10%, usually for a deposit, 15,000, 10%, 150k, right? When I looked it up, this is a baseline. This is just basics without me going into all of the aggregation and all the rest that goes with it, right? When looking at a 5% mortgage over 25 years, the approximation is repaying of 237,000. Right? That's between 790 and 830 pound a month. Right? If it's two people and they're in the household and they're working out the costs between the pair of them, then yeah, in a sense it works out to be around about £400 a head. And it does. So individual, so couples, married couples, working could probably be looking at around about that one, probably about, I would say the 750 to 790 each to run the household, which making it around about 14, 15 and a half. No, actually, it's probably going to be a bit more than that, isn't it? Well, the mortgage that size, household that size, electricity, gas, yeah. You're probably looking around about 18, between 17 and 18. Yeah, about 1,800 a month. Split between us, so 900 quid a month each. Right? That's a lot of money still in this day and age. That is, especially with all the amount of taxes and everything. So when talking about, I said, a modest 150,000 with, there's probably about a bungalow nowadays in some reason half decent areas. That is, 20,000 is obviously going to adjust that rent margin or that rent cost, rent payment. Yeah. But when you start actually attacking people's savings, attacking people's money and all the rest that goes with it, and constantly cut, or increase, you cause more problems. And then when things start looking right on the other side of things, on your side of things, on the government side of things, it's looking great, look, we're working out, it's coming up. Everything stays the same, and then when trouble happens again, we have to put everything up again. How do bubbles work again? Yeah. So indirect investments, right? Working more. Yeah. It is literally taking from one and then paying it with another, and using that to pay something else, and then keep moving it around. So in actual fact, the only thing that's plateaued, the only thing that's maintained and that's stable is the actual movement of money to keep things being paid. And that allows the economy to grow, and societies to grow. It looks attractive for investors and so on and so forth. Right? But what do I know? Right. So, we need to basically, there's abundance of employment out there. No, it's not always ideal, but for those who are watching it and are cussing and cursing me right about now because I'm calling you a dull dosser and whatnot, and they keep talking about find a job and the rest that goes with it. Tough, go and find a job. There's plenty of work out there. It's a means to an end. I think I'll give you an example of just a quick sideline conversation I had with somebody who was talking to me about benefits and whatnot, and they were really proud about it. Bless them. I get to sit around on my settee and I watch TV, and I get paid for doing that, and it's like 70 odd quid and whatnot, and 100 odd quid every 2 weeks. So I suppose it's all right, yeah. Or smoking, drinking, all this that goes social life and all that. Well, yeah, mate, I get by, and And I was driving at the time. I was push driving. All right. And I says, well, I sit on my ass all day. And then I watch my big TV all day. This is probably about 3-4 times the size of your TV. You know, and I've got social life. I speak to a lot of people. And I get paid 4 times what you do. Just an arbitrary number. But it was a hell of a lot more. Obviously, it's a hell of a lot more than what they're getting. I said, well, I get paid a hell of a lot more than what you do. I says, who's making the right choice now? It's there, isn't it? The point is there. It's just if people are willing to accept it or not. The problem we get is that people get so used to the idea of being sat around doing nothing. And when they say that, well, I should be paid for me sitting on my ass and pursuing my own interest, more often than not, that interest is sat around watching TV, picking their noses or picking a fight with someone. Yeah, unfortunately, and this is for anybody who's listening and who disagrees with me, unfortunately, humanity is evolved in such a way where if it wants to keep itself busy, that's what it generally does. It finds things to argue about, and it does to keep itself interested. You just look on your TV screen. Yeah, why there's all this police chase thing and all the rest that goes with it. People on the black market and all that. Believe it or not, even the black market requires effort. Is that not a contradiction in itself? Anyway, I've had a bit of a huff and a puff. I've had a bit of a dig here and there. It's all meant well, seriously. As convoluted as it might seem because of the short period of time that it's been done in, there's a lot of information in it. Pick through it. Use it. It's entirely up to you. Something needs to happen, and constantly spending out on old rope, right? When in actual fact, tidying up the system, streamlining it, like was said from the beginning about making it, more secure, more fat, much quicker, and so on and so forth, it's going to save you money. And it doesn't always require to actually put your hand in your pocket and spend. You just move money around. It's called creative accounting, or creative financial management. I know I don't mean the embezzlement side of things, or fraudulent. I mean just literally as it sounds, just moving stuff around, being creative. The occasional compromise, but not for compromise's sake. Yeah. As long as you can turn around and say, right, I'm only doing this for a short period of time, and you stick to that statement, right, we're beginning to see you turn around now, let's switch it back. Yeah, or put some money back in that one. As a bit of a reward type thing. Remember, I think I've said it in one of these newspaper things of online. Create incentive. Yeah, don't penalise. But then if you do have to take something away, reimburse it with something. If not the same thing that you took away, reimburse it with something as a form of thank you. Right? Yeah. Anyway, 45 minutes has passed. I've had enough of your time. I look scruffy as a bugger. Looks like being dragged through an edge backwards. Alright, and I'm going to go and tidy myself up after cleaning up in here now, so nearly done. Right, proper wet weather going on out there. It's getting warmer in here now, so it's working. Alright. Enjoy the sea day. Like I said before, festivities are on their way. Have fun, I guess. I might be back in, I might jump in again in between. Even if it's just to say Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, or Merry Festivities and a Happy New Year to you all. But we're getting there. You can be assured, you've seen it now, you can be assured we're nearly there.